from Winter VN Jam 2023. It's Under the False Sky, Blood-Covered Snow. From the same universe as Idealize, which we played a week or so ago, comes the promised additional side story. Released first, but as playing Idealize confirmed, this is technically a future quel? This does technically take place after Idealize. I suppose chronologically Idealize takes place before Blood-Covered Snow, because we were hinted in the creator's notes that Blood-Covered Snow might give us some degree of presence or notes about what happened to Nahum in the future after his entire world was horribly shattered, and his sister Shiloh went off the deep end and was also horribly shattered, and the resistance was horribly shattered and aggressively scapegoated by the incident in the Arks city when the core was destroyed and the city was virtually massacred. Those who weren't outright killed were corrupted and turned into rampaging beasts. So, let's cover this additional side story here. This takes place outside your typical Ark City in a rebellion camp, and deals with a group of young adults and kids looking to grow and come out of their shell, find their place in this world in this bitter, cold winter.
As transient as flowers that sway under the force of the ever-changing seasons, humans do not escape the march of time. A multitude of factors determine their survival: the weather, wild animals, nutrition. However, the biggest and most dangerous factor of their demise is
Other humans.
themselves.
That too.
While a lion may be capable of killing one or two of its kind, a human can obliterate a city in the blink of an eye, killing thousands, if not millions, without a second thought.
Hi Shiloh, how's it going?
But what do they gain from it? What is their reason for such heinous acts? Is it the
Despair.
pursuit of power? The aching greed and bitter jealousy that consumes the heart of an individual? Or is it the perversion of war? The twisted joy in observing the pain of less fortunate souls? There may never be a simple answer to such a complex question in the myriad eyes of man. Many tales recount such tragedies. Today's story is one of them.
Oh no, we're getting another tragedy.
Set in a world where people are forced to live within mobile cities, the Arks, a mere step outside might corrupt their fragile souls, turning them into savage monsters. In a world of imposed boundaries, to what end do these humans feel? Do they long for freedom? Or do they fear it? One of these poor souls is Micah, a miserable boy born during an ongoing 100-year conflict that enshrouded his meager existence. He has never known peace. Had he known that his actions would affect the lives of many, could he have taken a different course of action? Doesn't watching people discover the darkest depths of their being
Don't say it, don't say it.
excite you?
I knew you were gonna say that. God dang it. Terrifies me a little bit.
Micah! Hey, Micah! Are you sleeping? Wake up! Wake up!
Wake up. bothered me. Oh, okay. These are the titular kids. Are the kids okay? Maybe. We'll see. Micah, just want to check one. Oh.
Wake up!
A sharp pinch tore him painfully from his sleep. Just as the young boy, Micah, thought about leaping to his feet and chastising the troublesome being who dared to wake him in their place. He was caught off guard by the innocent eyes of the perpetrator, just a few inches away from him.
What? What are you doing here, Ada? Leave me alone.
Ada?
Oh, I'm really bored. Let's go on a walk together.
Good idea. His haze of No, that sounds like a terrible idea. His haze of disbelief was cleared by a few seconds of blinking at Ada. Her audacity to waste Micah's time on something so trivial vexed him. Ooh, okay.
I thought I told you to leave me alone. Are you dense or something?
Is it so wrong for me to want to spend time with my brother?
Oh, you're so annoying. When will it sink in? We aren't family, and never will be.
Oh no.
You are such a big meanie! I'll tell Dad!
Yeah, go ahead and tell your incompetent joke of a father. What's he supposed to do? Run crying to my mother? Family divide instantly clear. His hands gripped her arms tightly, dragging her to the side so that he was able to get up from the bed in which he had been sleeping soundly just a moment ago. The final glare in the little girl's direction, he left her behind. On the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of her teary eyes, but that wasn't his problem. She only had herself to blame. Once outside, Micah was greeted by an ice-cold gust that wasted no time turning his nose and cheeks a delicate shade of red. Allowing his gaze to wander over the barren yard, he saw the local residents bustling around the camp, their minds focused on their daily tasks. The fact that days were getting shorter, the season colder, and resources scarcer meant that everyone in the camp, young and old, had to lend twice as much of a hand, if not 3 times as much. Curious, Micah slipped narrowly behind two rebellion members and shuffled toward the warehouse. The mechs, along with the cars, were parked there as well. Oh. Cautiously poked his head through the large gate. Everyone was absorbed in their work, just as they were in the yard, oblivious to his existence. Okay, just wanted to confirm that the glossary stuff is not out yet, per se. Might be some character profiles. Okay, we got some. We got the basics, at least. Oh, we got voice actors here, too. Desperately seeking the comfort of a family. While some were loading and unloading equipment in and out of cars, others were working on the mechs. Most hypnotically, he stepped toward a particular model in the right-hand corner of the hall. At times like these, he cursed not being an adult yet. When could he finally pilot? When could he be like his father?
Oh, Micah, there you are. Ada was looking for you.
Dad? The familiar, jovial voice of a man echoed through the hall in his direction, interrupting Micah's train of thought. A shiver ran down his spine. Straight from the frying pan and into the fire. Tracking the source of the voice, his eyes found Gabriel standing near his mech. The mere thought of it caused an inexplicable rage to seethe quietly within Micah. Father. Not father. Stepfather. There was still distance between the two of them. Micah thought he still had the chance to turn around and make a run for it before being forced right back into the next conversation, knowing he'd potentially start a fight. Again. However, this was wishful thinking. Micah wanted to see Gabriel, even less than Ada, who irritated him immensely. Yet there he was, blocking his path.
Hey! Where are you going? It wasn't my intention to scare you off.
Scare me off? Yeah, right. Where I'm going is none of your business.
You seem upset. Even more than you usually are. Did
Yeah.
something happen?
Did something happen, he says? Why were you at his mech? Who said you could just touch...
His barking was interrupted by the grip of someone firmly wrapping an arm around his neck, pulling him backwards.
Who's doing that?
Oh, hello. As he looked up, his eyes locked with his mother's. Although she had a smile on her lips, something was glistening in her eyes.
Well, 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 my dear. Are we giving poor Gabrielle a hard time again? Huh?
Ma'am? Without giving her son a chance to retort, she put him in a headlock and rubbed her fist over his scalp. Noogie noogie noogie.
Mom, stop! I surrender. I surrender.
She carefully let go of him and patted him on the shoulder, as if she were dusting him off. Her hand slid to his cheek, raising his head so he couldn't avoid her gaze.
I was the one who asked Gabe to check the machine.
But Mom!
No buts. I asked him to take a look because I know the mech means a lot to you.
Admitting defeat, he moved away from his mother and slumped his gaze toward the floor. In situations like this, he desperately wanted to start an argument. He just couldn't. Not with her.
Oh, Micah.
Mom, Dad!
Small footsteps hurried past him, and Micah saw little Ada leap into the arms of the slender man. Oh, bonk. Ada missile.
Don't call her that.
Oh
Did you
no.
say something?
No.
The sound of Mari clapping her hands caused Micah to look up, startled. A sardonic grin crept onto her lips as if she'd had an epiphany, her gaze drifting between Gabriel and Micah.
Oh, I don't like seeing that grin on your face.
Oh no. Yeah, this is totally Mari from Idealize, right? Oh, what am I saying? That's their name.
Me neither.
Of course it is.
I just had a wonderful idea. How about the three of you take a trip to the nearby forest and collect firewood?
I was just confirming. Outside of here, yeah, same voice actor. That's her. That's just her. We all know what happened when she tried to stoke the revolution in the Ark City a few years back, thanks to Idealize.
But
At least she got out of there and started a family, it seems.
Mari, I don't think that's such a good idea.
I think that sounds like the worst idea ever. No, thank you. I refuse.
Yes! That sounds like fun!
Gabriel knows things are awkward and that he's not equipped to hash this out. Ada just desperately wants to be a family.
See? Ada agrees with me. So it's decided. The carrier baskets for the firewood must be behind the main building. At least, that's where I last saw them. Gabe, would you mind getting them?
Man grasped the little girl's hand and approached the gate. The moment the two passed Micah, he noticed a mischievous grin on Ada's face, not breaking eye contact.
that little...
Just when Micah was about to follow them, with his hands hidden in his jacket pockets, he was stopped by his mother, who gently grabbed his arm.
Yes?
Look, Micah, I know you aren't happy with this, but can you do me a favor and at least try to get along with Gabe? At least a little? For me?
They've only been in our camp for a year. How can you trust them so easily? What if he's a spy sent by those bastards?
Language, young man. Is Iran teaching you these naughty words again?
Sorry. What I'm trying to say is, what if he's a spy sent by those jerks from the Arks? He's just being nice to you to betray us in the end.
You know exactly how unlikely that is. And no one could be a member of the Ark with a hybrid as a child.
She pointed her finger at her eyes, the irises sparkling in a blood-red color, like Ada's. Even though Micah knew she was right, the uneasy feeling that had been growing in the pit of his stomach grew wider. Do we get... Oh. Oh, I'm just fiddling at this point. Darn.
You worry far too much for your age.
And you don't worry enough for your age.
Hey, that's mean. All I want is for you to give him a little chance and get to know him better. He won't take your father's place, and I doubt he would even want to. And I think it would be good if you could become more friendly with Ada. I don't want you or her to be lonely. After all, you're the only children in this camp.
I want to run around being a kid with her. I want to be a grown... I want to be a big guy. I want to be a big shot. I want to pilot a mech and go fight monsters off and protect us. Losing his father feels like left him wanting to grow up quicker.
Come on. Pinky promise?
Bewilderment spread across the boy's face as his counterpart swiftly extended her pinky toward him. Looking up from her finger, he saw his mother grinning and bobbing her head from side to side impatiently.
I promise that I won't be too hard on the guy. And as for Ada, I guess I'll tolerate her, as long as she doesn't push my buttons.
Reluctantly, he wrapped his small finger around hers. And just as he was about to withdraw, Mary took his wrist and swiftly pulled him into her tight embrace.
Mom, you're so embarrassing! Everyone's watching!
Good. That's a mom's job, to embarrass her kids.
So, who cares?
Exactly. Good mom. Although he reminded her that they were not alone in the storehouse, she didn't let go of him. In fact, her grip grew even tighter.
Mom, I can't breathe. Oh, right. I get it.
Gasping for air, he tapped her upper arm. It was evident to him that she seemed reluctant to let him go, but to his relief, not long after, she eased her grip, sharing a gentle smile with him before taking a step back.
You should follow Gabrielle and Ada. Don't leave them waiting for too long.
Well, you were the one who stopped me.
And keep in mind what we just talked about.
Behave.
Fine.
I love you.
Yeah. Love you too, Mom.
Idiot. Nailed the budding adolescent attitude. Especially with the added baggage of a lost father. With her arms crossed in front of her torso, she watched her son leave the warehouse. As soon as he had disappeared from her line of sight, her shoulders relaxed in an instant and a heavy sigh escaped her lips. Why is raising children so difficult? Knowing the situation was far from easy for Micah, especially with the impending puberty, she couldn't help but feeling a little weary. Every so often she caught her thoughts wandering and her eyes lingering. The mech in the corner of the hall was his mech. Her chest instantaneously tightened, a pulsating pain spreading rapidly through her upper body. Kine. Did we know a Kine? No, I shouldn't. He's gone. It's been 8 years by now. I should get out of here to clear my head. Before leaving the hall, she glanced at the mech one last time, a mech to which so many beautiful yet painful memories were linked. Stepping out onto the open field of the abandoned industrial site, she could feel bricks in her place of her aching heart. Ooh. Once outside, she looked toward the exit of the industrial site and in the direction of the forest, a few hundred meters away. She hoped she might still be able to spot the silhouettes of Gabriel and the children.
Ah, there they are.
They were a long way off, and while Ada held tightly onto her father, Micah shuffled up after them with his hands buried in his jacket pockets. She couldn't stop herself from cracking a smile. Of course. Wouldn't be so easy. I doubt that he'll stick to our promise. He's my son, after all. Stubborn as hell. That blissful tranquility was short-lived as the loud sound of scraping metal disrupted her thoughts. Two mechs came into view, just further west of the forest, toward which the three were heading. They're back. What a relief. There had only been one other time since the event 8 years ago when an excursion team had not made it back. Still, that particular feeling of unease resurfaced within Mari's mind every time. Like an eternal nightmare, a ghost that was clinging to her, wanting to drag her into the depths of the abyss by replaying this terrible memory in front of her eyes repeatedly. The endless pool of blood, the completely destroyed mechs, empty without bodies. Never in her life had she felt as helpless as she did that day. She had vowed to do everything within her power to keep herself from feeling that way ever again. If not for herself, then for Micah.
Boss? Hey! Boss!
Oh?
Yes?
Without realizing it, the tank-sized machines had closed the distance to their camp and built themselves up in front of the woman, casting a colossal shadow over her. With a swish, the windowed hatches of the machines flew open, revealing a dainty woman emerging from the left mech. Subsequently, a rugged, middle-aged man emerged from the mech on the right. The young woman slid down the metallic cover and landed in front of Mari effortlessly. The man, on the other hand, splat.
Quitting smoking would do you some good, old man.
Oh?
Is that really how you should talk to your seniors?
See? You already got 1 foot in the grave.
You!
Ahem. It's always the same with them. Yep. Esther and Aaron. Despite their stark differences, the duo facing Mari were undeniably a formidable team. Esther was known as an aggressor, and Aaron was as a marksman. They complemented each other perfectly on the battlefield. And, well, they were equally invaluable.
So, boss, what were you thinking about so absent-mindedly that you didn't even notice us?
I have to agree with the brat for once. It's rare to see you daydreaming. After all, it was your keen senses that turned our little colony into one of the most renowned rebellion factions.
Yes. I'm sorry, it's just... Anyway, give me a report on the results of your expedition.
Good to see the three of them made it out all right. For a brief moment, the young Esther looked up at her partner, biting her bottom lip. Her expression was strangely anxious.
Do you think we should tell her?
Tell me what exactly?
Well, when you put it that way, Esther.
Oh, it's nothing. Esta is just overreacting again.
I'm not.
What does that mean?
Do you really want to bother our boss with something so...
You will bother me with that, and you will like it.
Aaron, shut your mouth and let Esther finish, or I'll sign you to Gabrielle for a while.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Anyone but that fucking guy.
Aaron and Micah are getting along in that regard. With every word he spoke, Aaron made it everything but easier for himself. Oh, how Mari would have loved to break his neck on the spot, but that would have been a waste of good manpower, and that was something they couldn't afford to lose given the circumstances. Aaron also seemed to have noticed this, as he quickly bit his bottom lip and took a step back, his arms crossed and his gaze fixed on the ground.
So, Esther, please continue.
Please?
Sometimes I forget how scary you can be, boss. Fortunately, I think before I speak, unlike a certain someone.
I mean, neither of you really did. I was going to say, neither of you really do that.
Esther?
Right.
Speak. Once again, the young woman's face darkened into a serious expression. Before coming closer, she carefully checked her surroundings, as if she was ensuring that no one was listening in.
I think the military's here.
Oh.
You think what?
Told you, Esta.
Shut your mouth. I wasn't talking to you. What makes you think that? Have you seen anyone?
It's not that I saw someone, but rather something. As we entered the mountain area behind the forest, I noticed mech traces in the ground, and the models definitely didn't resemble ours.
Makes sense.
And when I followed them, the tracks ended at a certain point, so I don't know where exactly they lead to, or to whom they belong, but I think it's something worth reporting.
This isn't just something worth reporting, this is damn serious.
Shit.
And? What are you planning to do?
Esther,
Yes, boss?
I want you to contact the main faction. Preferably yesterday.
The main faction?
The main faction.
Boss, this is ridiculous.
Even though Mari would like to believe Iran and hope that this was another one of Esther's crazy daydreams, her gut told her a very different story. Especially after that mission they carried out for the main faction just a few weeks ago. It truly was a Mecca of the Ark. They should start praying to whatever god was at hand.
Say, Dad,
Yes, baby? What's the matter?
when we're done collecting firewood, can you make me some hot cocoa?
I don't think we have any left. I mean, we are short on resources.
What happens?
Let's do it this way. If we still have any supplies, I'll make you some. How's that sound?
That sounds amazing! Thank you, Dad!
And how about you, Micah? Huh? Micah?
Huh? What do you want?
Not realizing it, Mika's attention was fixated on the mechs not far from them approaching the camp. The sound of the metal and the slight vibration coming from the ground were like music to his ears. What he'd give
I asked
to...
if you also want a hot chocolate when we get back.
No, I don't need it. I'm not a little kid anymore.
Who or what does he think I am?
Oh, okay then.
He thinks you're 12. Mika's eyes meet Ada's as she continued to cling to her father, shooting him a strange look.
Well, more for me.
What's wrong with her? Does she want to fight or something? Oh, he wished he could throw her stiff-wit line right back at her. The promise he had made to his mother echoed throughout his head. So, biting his tongue and keeping his mouth shut, he trotted after the two of them. His focus settled on the fog escaping from him with every breath. Despite the scarcity of snow on the ground, frigid winter temperatures seeped into the young boy's fingertips and toes. Why'd I give in and agree to this? I'd rather just be in bed. Just a few minutes later, they arrived at the entrance to the forest. In front of them, gigantic, seemingly endless trees extended before their eyes. Their bare treetops moved in perfect harmony with the winter wind. With a shiver running down his spine, Micah buried his hands deeper into his jacket pockets, coming to a halt alongside the others. Just as he was about to proceed on his path, a thick pink scarf suddenly whipped mercilessly across his face, obscuring his view.
Ah! My scarf!
Ah, my scarf!
Can't you take better care of your stuff?
She quickly pulled away from her father's hand and paced toward him, tentatively. Rather clumsily and roughly, he wrapped the scarf back around her neck and tied it in a knot. Oh no.
If you get sick now, you'll just be an even bigger burden to me.
Oh.
Thank you, Micah.
Instead of running back to her father as he had expected, she paused and briefly looked up at him, which he returned with bewilderment. On the brink of chasing her away, he was taken aback as she unexpectedly gripped his hand, her face adorned with a radiant smile. You can't say no to that smile, Micah. You can't be mean to that smile.
Just because I put the scarf back on you doesn't mean... Ugh.
Cooties. His mother's words were once again swirling inside his mind. To be honest, he was too tired and cold for any further protesting. He decided to tolerate her invasive behavior, for now. With Ada in tow, we caught up with Gabriel, who had been idling patiently for the two of them. The irritating smile that frequently annoyed Micah had returned and sat plastered across his face.
What are you looking at?
Nothing.
Together they entered the forest with Gabriel as their guide. Micah felt colder with each step. He would have to fight with all his might to keep his body warm if it weren't for Ada's hand, warm and almost burning, encircling his icy cold hand, offering him his body a little of the warmth it craved. He seemed to have noticed his gaze on her, as her grip tightened and her smile got even wider than Micah thought would be humanly possible.
Guess there's something good about being a hybrid.
You think?
Well, you'd always have a warm body and wouldn't freeze in this godforsaken cold.
I've never seen it like that before. If you want to, we can hold hands more often. Then you'll be less cold.
Oh.
No, I think I'll pass.
Abruptly, Gabriel came to a halt, causing the two children to almost run into him.
Ugh. Can't you be more careful?
I think this might be a good spot for us to collect wood.
put his basket down and gestured for them to do the same.
But there aren't really many branches lying around here.
Gabriel.
It's better this way than walking too deep into the forest. Otherwise, we might get lost, or it might get dark before we leave. I would like us to get back at the camp before sunset.
Micah felt the pleasant warmth slowly slipping away from him as Ada let go of his hand and hurried to her dad, who began picking up scattered branches, cradling them in his arms.
Come, Micah. Please lend a hand.
I don't get it. What's so bad about going deeper into the forest? Are you scared or something?
Oh no, that's not going to end well. Are you scared?
Micah, I just told you the reason.
Nothing but excuses.
I don't understand what Mom sees in you. You're not even strong enough to protect anyone. You can't even pilot a mech. All you do is write in your stupid books, and that's it.
Bro. Gabriel's mouth opened a gap. In disbelief about what he had heard, he cleared his throat.
Huh. Just 'cause Dad's weak doesn't mean he doesn't do anything for the colony.
It does anything for the colony, my ass.
Hey! Stop right there, Micah! Come back here!
Leave me alone!
He didn't listen to what his pretend stepfather told him. He was fed up with his cowardly behavior. If they were going to do this, they should do it right. They'll prove to him what a loser he is. He'll collect much more wood than them. Then maybe his mother will finally realize that Gabriel isn't good enough for her. Motivation blurred in anger. He pushed deeper and deeper into the forest, leaving Gabriel's calls far behind as he was swallowed in its endless depths. Oh boy. Micah had lost track of time, but each passing second began to feel like an eternity. Gabriel's shouts had long since faded in the distance, and the only thing accompanying his growingly timid footsteps were the branches dancing from the icy cold wind. Loath as he was to admit it, he missed the warm hand that had given him so much comfort just a few minutes ago. Taken aback by his own thoughts, he shook his head. Stop going crazy, I will never accept them. Never! He still remembered that fateful day well. It had been far too hot, and yet Aran, like the sadist he is, made him run countless laps around the training ground. That evening, under an unforgivably cold rain, Gabriel collapsed at the camp gates, desperately cradling an unconscious Ada. That was the day his mother and Gabriel had met. Not a single day since was ever the same again. I couldn't stand that guy from the very beginning. Young Micah had always harbored suspicions about his excessively friendly demeanor, a smile and an eagerness to assist everyone without expecting anything in return. Something like that could only be driven by ulterior motives. Hell, he didn't even yell at Micah, though he was so harsh and derogatory to him. He just simply endured it. If he wasn't evil to the core, he might just be stupid. For him, there was no other explanation. Why wouldn't his mother just realize that? Was he the only one to see the truth? Whatever may come, he would never approve of him, especially not as a father. What right did he have to simply try and take his place?
Why am I the only one? Why does nobody believe me? All of them are idiots.
Because you are 12, and you are grieving. Giving into his feelings, he buried his face in his hands and slumped to the ground. Only the vapid, momentary warmth offered by the tears falling onto his skin comforted him. As if both his body and his soul were longing for it. A loud scream escaped his lips and echoed throughout the forest. At that moment, it did not matter whether anyone heard him or not. You are 12. You are grieving. And there's an irreparable hole in your heart that may never heal. And at a moment like this, it feels like someone else is being forcibly shoved in that hole. Despite people around you telling you otherwise, it feels that way, and that feeling deserves to be taken seriously. Even if it's not true. Although his throat began to ache, he felt free. The crushing weight of feeling unseen and unheard had dissipated as if only for that brief moment. Weary from that scream, he pulled himself laboriously back to his feet. The last of his tears had already dried on his cheeks from the freezing winds. Slacking off wasn't an option anymore. After all, he had a mission to fulfill. He had to prove to his mother that she could live without Gabriel and Ada. He didn't need a new father and sister.
Just wait and see. I'll show you.
With newfound energy, he began to rapidly collect branches scattered on the ground and toss them haphazardly into his basket. In just a few minutes, he had cleared the ground around him in its entirety. Ah, I bet they haven't collected as much as me yet. I should go deeper into the forest. Maybe I'll find even more. That sounds like a terrible idea. Fixed only on his goal, he continued on his way. Come what may, he would. The sound of a branch snapping made his body freeze up. The noise hadn't been made by him. No, the source must have been hiding behind the dense undergrowth not far from him. Maybe it was just an animal, but what if it was a chimera? No, that couldn't be. This region should have been cleared of all chimeras. Initially battling with his curiosity, he eventually gave in and moved silently to the direction the noise originated from. Carefully pushed the thicket of branches and bushes aside, stepped into a wide clearing. In its center sat a man, a complete stranger.
Who's there? Show yourself.
Hello. At first the stranger turned to look in all directions. When their eyes met, his mouth slung open.
What? A child?
Man's shoulders relaxed slightly, and the muscles in his face eased up.
What are you doing out here so deep in the forest?
I could ask you the same thing. I've never seen you around here before.
I actually come from there.
There? Man pointed to the top of the steep incline not far from the clearing.
Well, I'm a mercenary. I was on that hill to get an overview of the area, but I lost my balance and fell down.
Come again? You fell down from up there? How the hell are you still alive?
You could say I was blessed with a lot of luck.
Micah slowly walked up to him, closer to the man. As he came to a stop in front of him, he placed the basket on the ground before kneeling down next to the man's stretched out legs. He didn't know where this sudden willingness to help came from, but something about him made him curious. It's almost as if he had seen him somewhere before.
What's got you so curious, boy?
I want to take a look at your leg. The way it's twisted, I doubt that you'll have much longer to live if you can't get up, especially in the cold.
And why would you want to help a stranger?
Dunno. Just feel like it. And I've got time.
In the absence of any elaboration, Micah began to search his basket for a straight and robust stick. Once he had found one, he turned his attention back to the injury. The sight of it made him swallow heavily. It wasn't as bad as it looked, but it certainly wasn't in the best shape.
Do you have a camp somewhere around here? The only thing I can do right now is give you basic first aid. You would have to do the rest yourself.
Reaching into the depths of his jacket pocket, he pulled out a bandage roll. He always carried little things like this with him, better safe than sorry. Being completely honest, he never thought it would actually come to use.
Excuse me.
Micah recognized a spark of curiosity in the man's eyes as he moved closer to the leg. Being gawked at like this made him a little nervous. Without waiting any longer, he positioned the leg in front of him in a relatively straight position so he could place the stick on it for the needed support.
Might hurt.
Don't worry. I've been through worse.
Another few minutes passed in silence. With great discipline, Micah carefully splinted his leg by wrapping the bandage around the stick and securing it in place. Why am I helping him? I don't even know him, do I? If I didn't help him, he might die. Is that my problem? The latter thought caused his mother's words to echo in his head. He'd already forgotten how often she drilled this into him. No matter what, if the person who has done nothing to you is injured, you must help them. After all, this is what humans should do.
Your eyes are all red. Have you been crying, child?
No, don't call me that. I'm not a child anymore.
I'm 12.
What's wrong with being a child?
Children are weak, and they can't protect anyone. Not even the people they love. They are pathetic.
Yep, as I thought, that's a grief response. Lost his father. Felt like he couldn't protect his father. As a result, this. For a moment, the stranger looked at him bewildered, a look Micah couldn't really put his finger on. His expression exuded a mixture of astonishment, sorrow, and pity.
What makes you say that? Childhood is a beautiful thing. Not one child on this earth should be forced to grow up so quickly. What's your name, boy?
Micah.
Look, Micah. It's crucial to cherish your youth and the simplicity of life, to make the most out of every day. Because this moment is far too fleeting. You'll grow up soon enough. You can worry about things like that when you're older.
Old man.
You can call me Keenan.
Keenan. Okay.
Keenan, could it be that you didn't just hurt your leg when you fell, but also your head?
Maybe. Anyways, who taught you to take such good care of injuries? The way you've stabilized my leg is stellar.
My mother taught me. She insisted it'd come in handy one day. Guess she was right.
Now that I think about it, why are you so deep in the forest alone at that? Shouldn't your mother be with you?
Upon hearing his question, his mood began to sour again, causing his grip on the end of the bandage to tighten.
Mom is at home. I'm here with an incompetent guy who wants to call himself my stepfather, and my fake sister.
I see. Aren't they treating you well?
Well, you should be able to stand up now.
That question struck a nerve. Slowly, Micah got back to his feet. His knees began to tingle from sitting for so long. Reaching out to his arms to help him up. To his surprise, Keenan was even bigger than he had initially expected. With all his strength, he had to use his own weight to be able to heave him up.
Man, you're heavy.
That's all muscles.
So, are you able to walk back to your camp on your own, or do you need help?
Yeah, I think I should be.
That uniform does not strike me as average mercenary.
Micah? Micah, where are you?
Keenan's sentence was interrupted by my familiar yet unnerving voice. Micah swiveled toward an undergrowth that the voice was projecting from. Moments later, the blonde girl stumbled out of the thicket, accompanied by the loud rustling of bushes.
Watch it!
Intentionally, almost autonomously, his legs moved toward her. Rather harshly, he pulled her back on her legs and brushed the dirt off her clothes. Exasperated sigh dissolved the awkward silence.
There you are.
You really should be more careful. If you get your dress dirty, I'm going to be the one who has to wash it again.
Thank you, Micah. Hey, Dad! I found him!
It wasn't long before Gabriel stumbled out of the same undergrowth. His hair was all ruffled and his glasses almost slid off his nose.
Thank God. Do you know how worried I was? You stubborn boy!
Oh, he came close to saying a bad word. Without Meek's permission, Gabriel desperately grabbed him by the arm, pulling him into an embrace. He could feel his slender body trembling. Was it from the cold?
Please don't ever run away like this again. Ever. Or at least if you do, run home instead.
Fine. Now let me go.
Why is he so overdramatic? After being reluctantly released from Gabriel's embrace, he stumbled back to catch his breath. His gaze fell on the baskets on their backs. A sly grin had formed on his lips. A grin so wide that it hurt the corners of his mouth. They were completely empty. He won.
You seem to be okay. That's the most important part, but tell me, what are you doing here?
I helped that man there. He was injured and...
Turned to the center of the clearing where he had pulled the injured man back on his feet just a few seconds ago. However...
Where is he?
How is this possible? Why are children here? Ganon managed to shelter himself behind one of the broad trees, avoiding discovery by the girl and the man. His cover was almost blown by that boy already. As soon as the three had left the clearing and the sounds of their presence had faded, he steadily limped out of his hiding spot.
This is bad. Real bad.
Like, yeah, you're military, aren't you? His attention drifted to the edge from which he had fallen earlier. Wondered if his comrades were already out looking for him. He'd return soon or they'd run into the children. By the time he reached his base, the landscape had begun to drape under the encroaching night. And the temperature had fallen to sub-zero digits. He saw a duet of shadows scurrying frantically toward him.
Commander! Where have you been? We've been worried sick.
Is this? Two have rushed toward him were his direct subordinates, Nahum and Yona! Well shit, alright. Here we are. While Nahum was always a somewhat energetic and talkative young man, Yona was quite the opposite, a reserved and introverted young woman. We're straight into it now.
What happened to your leg?
While exploring the area, something happened and I fell down a hill.
A hill?
A hill?
Don't worry, it should be healed by now.
Healed by now?
Man, Commander, what I wouldn't give to be a guardian like you.
Guardian?
Don't be foolish, Nahum.
Tall woman elbowed her companion sharply in the ribs, causing him to gasp for air.
Hey! That hurts.
Grow up.
A gentle smile graced the man's lips. Banter between the two always reminded him of his own children. Time and time again, little Noah would do everything in her power to tease some reaction out of the otherwise calm Gideon. Oh.
What's on your mind, sir?
So the injury's still... Yona! What's wrong with you?
I told you not to be a fool. Our commander wouldn't be set back by such a minor injury.
Who was it that said there would be no children in the rebellion camp?
It was in one of the documents written by the professor. Besides, this is a warrior colony. They never have children around.
Kanan fell silent and scratched his chin. A heavy panging began to clutch his stomach.
May I ask what made you think about that, Commander? Could it be that you came across these individuals? I knew it. How many children did you see?
I've only seen two, and not directly in their camp. So is anyone's guess how many more there actually are?
Who cares if there are children there or not? It's not like they cared about that while they wiped my home off the map.
Yeah.
For once, I have to agree with him. Better to put them out of their misery before they turn into depraved monsters themselves.
Oof. Shocked, he glanced at the two subordinates, taking a step back as he struggled to believe his ears. So very clearly, Yona is not alright either.
They're still children. Even if they're part of the rebels, the rebellion's wrongdoings don't extend to them. They're innocent. It makes us the very same monsters you speak of. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I expected you two to know better.
Oh, you don't know Nahum at all.
Commander, forgive me for overstepping my boundaries, but we have very little choice. Our mission is to wipe out the entire camp and all its people. No exceptions. Not even you can avoid those orders, because they come from Her Highness herself.
The fact that half the royal family were wiped out in the attack means that she takes this very personally.
Ooh.
And let me remind you that Her Highness's 6-year-old son was also a victim.
I wonder who killed him. Shiloh. The young man crossed his arms behind his head. A terrifying grin grew on his face. Oh no. Even Kanan, a man hardened by the cold steel of a long military career, was overcome with a brief shiver. Oh. If you ever get the chance to go back and update missing sprites, because this was a game jam game, hence the missing sprites of characters who later got sprites in the future installments. If you ever get a chance to go back and update this with sprites and glossary and stuff, I would love to see this smile. That terrifying Nahum smile.
I will go to great lengths to carry out this mission for Her Highness.
Because Nahum, my boy, is not okay.
A chance to finally see the Deathbringer of the rebellion again and rip away everything she holds dear gets me excited.
He is not okay.
If you'll excuse me, sir, I'll be getting ready now. I can hardly contain my excitement.
Nahum. He simply hasn't been the same since that day. I hope his desire for revenge doesn't cost him his own head one day.
A chilling silence gave Kanan's eyes an excuse to wander over to the base. A week ago, he had set off for that rebellion camp with a special squad consisting of the best units the military had to offer. Each and every one of these troops had harbored a burning desire for revenge. Knew that each one would gladly give their life for it. It meant that they could take even a single rebel down with them.
Commander, if I may, we should begin preparing ourselves. The other units are already on standby. Many of them are in a similarly joyful mood, like that fool. I hope you know what I mean by that, Commander. Unfortunately, your personal ideals and morals will be ignored today. You'll inevitably have to accept this.
I might be reading too much into Yona's state of mind, but just hearing this line reading makes me think that Yona is nearly as not okay as Nahum is. Oh, hey.
Brad, don't forget this.
Hey! Careful! Don't just throw stuff around.
Oh, you can take it.
You should just be more cautious. If you're not careful, you'll eventually catch a stray bullet in that airhead of yours.
Oh no, don't go there. Yona, young reserved woman whose compassion was already destroyed due to the world's cruelties. Yeah, yep. Nahum? Young, energetic man with an all-consuming desire for revenge, no matter the cost. 2 more people to meet. Kanan? I like you. You intrigue me. Hello, Aran. Middle-aged man, dulled by the savagery of war. Almost cynical. Esther, free-spirited woman. Young woman, dreaming of a free world. She's been through a lot. Oh, Mari? Warrior colony's leader. Strong sense of justice. Great heart. Like his mother. Is that... Let's see. Bruv is an engineer. So it's not like he's just doing nothing. Micah is just bordering on teenagehood, grieving, and adolescent. That's a cocktail of emotions which do not lend well to accepting step-family relations.
Stop arguing. We have an important mission ahead of us. The last thing I need right now is 2 quarreling dogs yapping at each other.
Yep.
Sorry, boss.
After a long and heated debate, they finally agreed to set off for the spot Esther had mentioned right before sunset. Even though it might end up being nothing, Mari knew she wouldn't be able to put her mind at ease if she didn't see for herself. Time wasn't on their side. If the military really was nearby, they'd have to get there before them, at a time when they were at least alert. It had to be at night.
What are you all doing? Are you going on a trip?
Ada? Little Ada's bumbling voice echoed throughout the warehouse. Her small, brisk steps grew increasingly louder before abruptly stopping in front of Mari's mech. Ada looked up curiously, towered by the mech's imposing stature. Oh no, I was hoping they wouldn't come back until we'd already left. Whoa! Mari swiftly pulled herself out of the cockpit and slid down the mech to get to the young girl. Oh, they're all here. Everyone's here. Fleetingly, she could feel the confused and concerned looks of Gabriel and Micah on her as they both made their way toward her and Ada. To her surprise, only Mika's basket was filled to the brim with a bouquet of twigs and branches.
Mom? Where are you going?
Mari sensed the girl's warm hands clasping hers, all the while enamored by wide, puppy eyes. Her poor heart had tightened. What should she tell her? What would she say to Gabriel and her son? The factor of curiosity when we finding out that Mari is a hybrid as well. Ada's a hybrid. Obviously Esther we know is a hybrid based on Re-Idealize. And Re-Idealize, Mari was not a hybrid. Mari had amber eyes in Re-Idealize. Which means either whatever this incident which causes you to transform into a Chimera. Obviously, Arks intentionally transform people into Chimera with cocktails. Like I said, process has not been fully explained to my knowledge, but I feel like that process goes something like if really the best way I can describe my theory about it is in the case of is to compare it to like Project Moon verse, where the equivalent of transforming into a Chimera is like distorting, becoming a distortion. But if you undergo that process and like you maintain your humanity and your will, instead of distorting, you manifest ego. You gain a whole separate sort of power, and that feels like the equivalent. May not be a one-to-one comparison, but that's like the flow chart in my head how I see the concept of a hybrid. I may be spitballing too. I may have just been playing too much Olympus Company, but hey. What did she say? Yes, alas. You can't lie to this poor child, or poor Art Titan. What should she tell her? What should she say to Gabriel and her son?
Oh, Oran, Esta, and I are only going on a teeny tiny expedition.
Teeny tiny, itsy bitsy.
Again? Weren't the two of them just coming back from one?
On days like these, she cursed her boy's quick wit.
Hey, my man. How's it going? Have you been ordered to collect resources again? Ooh, come with me for a sec. I'll show you something really cool.
He slung one arm over Mika's shoulder, and the other around Ada's waist to lift her up. The two of them in tow, he dragged the children out of the hall, drowning out Ada's grumbling by complimenting Mika's basket of twigs.
Hey! Let me go!
Albeit with great protest, the children were successfully removed from the hall. I could feel the rigid crick in her neck slowly start to unravel.
Mari, what's going on?
How should I put this? The military is here.
What?
It's just a maybe for now. Esta said she saw tracks during the expedition. We're planning to leave and take a closer look around the area.
Do you know what this means?
I know.
Means we are in danger. The look on his face spoke volumes.
That's why we're going to the spot as a precaution. Please don't say anything to the children. I don't want them to be more worried than absolutely necessary.
Mari.
It'll be fine. We will be fine.
Oh. Turning on tiptoe, she gently placed her lips on his cheek. She tried to break away from him. He pulled her closer. This time he closed her lips with his in an intimate kiss. He sensed his wordless desperation and uncertainty, the fear of letting her go into the unknown.
Time out. Leave me some air to breathe. What's the matter? You're acting like I won't come back.
Clearing her throat, Esther drew attention to herself. She motioned to her wrist and then outside.
We don't have much time, boss. I think we better get this over with as soon as possible.
Happy for you, boss, but we got business.
You're right.
She closed her hands around Gabriel's for the last time and gave him a gentle smile.
Please take good care of the children. I know Micah could be a handful sometimes, but he really doesn't mean it, and...
I know. Don't worry. I'll take good care of him. I promise. We'll see each other again tonight anyway, right?
Mm, mm.
Right. Thank you.
Would you like to say goodbye to them?
Oh no.
No. Better not.
This ever-darkening landscape quickly passed by the windows of Mari's mech. Ron was right beside her as they followed Esther, who gracefully navigated the group through the dense forest. While she knew that her attention should be solely on the mission, her thoughts often wandered. I hope Micah is behaving. Picture taped to the window. If everything turns out well, yes, everything will be fine.
Hey, boss! Boss, come on! Pay attention! We can't have our leaders spacing out on us.
Yeah, sorry.
We're entering range. Just a few hundred meters to go.
With each passing moment, Mari's hands grew sweatier, causing her to tighten her grip on the controls of her mech. After a few more cautious paces, they were greeted by the wide berth of an expansive meadow. The clearing was veiled by a colossal shadow cast from a nearby hill that encircled them.
And here we are.
At the foot of the hill, the young woman came to a halt and pointed with her front legs at what looked like a carving from the distance. It was impossible for Mari to recognize anything from her current position. She carefully stepped closer. With the headlights pointed at the indentation, her mech conjured a holographic image of the zoomed-in area displayed on the windshield. To her luck, the frost had practically etched the marking into the ground, making it easier for her to investigate. The foreboding realization sank in, a lump formed in her throat, making it difficult for her to breathe.
They are...
Choking on her words, she didn't want to. No, she couldn't say it. She knew best, after all. They were the same. The same tracks left behind on the day she found her fiancé's mech. How could she ever forget them? That day had engraved itself into her memory, just like the tracks on the ground right in front of her.
They're here.
Are you for real?
From now on, move cautiously. Don't make even the slightest noise. Avoid all attention to yourself unless absolutely necessary. Do I make myself clear?
Roger, boss.
She tentatively closed her eyes for a moment, pulling in the warm air of her heated mech. With each exhale, her trembling body calmed down a little. Eventually, she forced her eyes open, her gaze limp and expressionless as a defiance to her growing fear. Can't show any weakness, not now, not when the lives of my colony, my family, and especially of Micah are at stake. Her sight scanned away from the dark and to the top of the large hill. The dazzling full moon stood above them, enveloping everything in its brilliant light.
Did you also investigate the hill during your expedition?
The hill? No, it wasn't assigned to us. To be honest, the zone ended right here.
Follow me.
Boss, what are you planning?
I have a hunch.
In lieu of elaborating any further, Mari backed up her mech and angled the mechanical legs toward the ground, looking through the windshield toward the top.
Surely she doesn't want to.
Without her comrade being able to finish his sentence, Mari let go of one of the locked control sticks, causing the mech to shoot upwards like a tensed spring when released.
Yes, she does. That's our boss.
Go,
Didn't
boss.
you just tell us not to make any noise and to keep quiet?
Whoops. With the tips of the mech's legs, she clawed down to the rock face. Paused for a moment to make sure she was in a secure position. After checking the status of her mech and its standing, she slowly began to move. Pulling herself up the steep incline, her body pressed deeper into the soft leather of her seat.
Are you guys waiting for an invitation? We've got no time to spare.
It took only a few seconds for her to reach the top. Looking down from above, the distance to the ground looked even greater than before. Once she had made sure the others had followed her, she turned to the area stretching across the hill. Oh, hello. So, is that the face that, Kanan fell off of? Her eyes confirmed her suspicions. The military camp she had silently pleaded to not exist lay manifest before her. Strangely, the camp lay vacant. The tent's lights were turned off. It almost looked deserted.
I can't believe it.
They really are here. Guess the brat was right for once.
I've been telling you this whole time. Why don't you ever believe what I have to say?
Esther let out a dejected sigh, a sentiment mimicked by her mech drooping forward slightly. Ignoring her theatrics, Ron rolled his eyes. Upon regaining her composure, Esther's eyes darted rapidly from side to side.
But why is nobody here? Surely they'd have heard all the noise we were just making.
We would have been sorely in trouble.
What do you think, boss?
It really is strange. It looks like they had left camp already, abruptly, as if humans had been nearby, but that can't be it. After all, we clear the region regularly.
Should I hop out and take a quick look?
Yes.
Without a moment of hesitation, the hatch of Esther's mech flew open, exuding a huff of steam, followed by a motorized whir. Out of the corner of her eye, she could make out her comrade's shadow swiftly slipping out and scanning all directions with rifle in hand. Arriving at one of the tents, she meticulously lifted the curtain and dashed past the drapes, after confirming no one was inside.
Empty. How strange. The beds are all made properly, even though the rest of the place looks like a complete pigsty.
It is either a trap, or they are moving on the rebel camp as we speak.
Oh no. Esther, return to your mech. Now!
What? Why?
Do what I tell you and...
Shit! Her pleading words were shattered by a deafening shrill. A sound so menacing that it shook Mari to her core and made her raw blood run ice cold. The silhouette of her comrade slumped to the ground like a doll whose strings had been cut. It lay dormant, motionless, and devoid of life.
Hey, Brad. That's not funny. Hey! Answer me!
Silence. Nothing but silence. It was even more crushing than the sound that caused Esther to fall over.
Hey!
The headlight of Aaron's mech directed its focus to the twisted shape splayed on the ground, her body. They were met with the vacant, piercing stare of her wide brown eyes. Disfigured, her head was contorted in their direction, while her body pointed in a completely different one. A burning sensation pushed its way through Mari's throat. Unable to properly process what she was seeing, she looked away. Her heart didn't know whether to tighten or tear itself apart. This was clearly a trap, and they had walked right into it. She had allowed Esther to walk right into the prime jaws of the enemy. It was her fault. Where are they? Where are they hiding? She refrained from moving a single muscle. She knew that a single wrong move would be fatal to them both. Oh, God! And what Mari could only understand is a sudden explosion of anger and panic. Aaron's mech started to strut forward. Pointing his machine gun at the camp, he showered the camp in a hail of bullets.
You absolute...
Oh! With a violent jolt, Mari was catapulted several meters aside. If not for being strapped in so tightly while clutching the armrest of her seat, the impact would have effortlessly thrown her head first out of the windshield. Rubbing her shoulder, she tried to reposition herself and regain her composure.
Where?
As the veil of obscurity suddenly disappeared, Mari discerned numerous beams of light pointing squarely at them. There was no denying it. They were indisputably surrounded. In an instant, 7 red dots started to blink on the radar at the exact same position from which the beams of light beams originated. How could this be? Why are they only now popping up?
This is crazy!
Not exchanging any words, she maneuvered herself to Iran. Back against back, she drew in a final breath. She had no option but to fight back. If she didn't survive, then there was no chance that the colony would either.
Micah.
A small Polaroid picture taped to the top left of the corner of the screen caught her eye. It was a 4-year-old Micah, sitting somewhat awkwardly on her lap and staring at the camera with a wide smile. With newfound resolve, she positioned her mech's gun in the direction that the light beams were coming from. With an unnatural awareness of her movements, they immediately began to shift, moving toward her at an abnormal speed.
What?
Instinctively, she began to shoot, but bullets bounced off the models with a series of anticlimactic pings. No matter how many bullets she shot, none of them hit the mark.
This can't... How? Iran!
Uh-oh.
Fall back! That is an order!
Boss, they killed her! How can you expect me to just leave? They killed her right in front of me! That brat! She wasn't supposed to die like this! These bastards! They have to pay!
Iran! No!
She could only observe in horror as Iran charged recklessly toward the two of the enemy mechs. He sprayed a surge of bullets with pristine accuracy, each round filled with unrelenting rage. It wasn't enough to penetrate their armor. It was hopeless. It was futile. All she could do was watch. The single blow, his signal vanished. His mech erupted into a blazing, all-consuming red in front of her.
This can't be.
Frozen still by the shock of the situation, she didn't notice the enemy to the right, stampeding straight toward her. She narrowly evaded the frontal attack. If she were even a millisecond later, she would have perished. Behind the window opposite her, she was able to make out the figure of a young man. His murderous, spiteful smile covered her body in goosebumps, making it difficult to dodge the relentless onslaught.
It's a real shame that your comrades got such a quick and painless death. It's just no fun unless I hear whimpering and begging for mercy. Can you at least give me a better show?
Hi, Nahum.
Mari, the Deathbringer of the rebellion, struggles in her performance. Pitiful. Where's the heartless wrench that wiped out an entire Ark with countless families?
That wasn't us! We didn't attack any civilians!
Quit the bullshit! I saw you with my own 2 eyes! You ripped my twin sister away from me without a second thought!
This can't be. You're...
A surge of memories abruptly flooded her mind. She vaguely recounted the driver of an enemy mech, standing protectively in front of her twin brother to take the fatal blow, trading her life for his. The natural landscape drawn by war, painted indiscriminately with streaks of blood.
Yes, that's right! I am your downfall. I will make sure to destroy everything you hold dear. Your friends, your family, the love of your life. Anyone you hold dear will feel my wrath.
Her adversary lunged forward in a second attempt to strike. As Mari desperately tried to back away, the unanticipated came to fruition. In all the shocking emotion, she hadn't realized how much she had been pushed to the edge of the cliff. Her mech's leg frames were too heavy to adjust in time, slipping and causing her to tumble. She tried to cling to the stony ground with her front legs. She had not taken her opponent into consideration. Reveling in her helplessness, he offered a taunting push, severing away what little grip she had left.
No!
Oh shit. Laden with heavy eyelids, she struggled to keep her eyes open. Her field of vision had been completely blurred, and her body felt unnervingly light, devoid of any pain. It was at this moment she knew she was dying. Warm blood began to pool in her lungs. Hybrid or not, she couldn't survive a wound like that. Oh shit. How could all this happen? These mech models, and why didn't they? The realization hit her like a brick. The radar, the blinding speed, the bullet ricochet. Everything made sense to her now. In retaliation, they must have upgraded and advanced their weaponry. It was all because of the events that had transpired a month ago. It was all because of that mission, that biggest sin she had committed. Oh, okay, so this happened. So Idealize happened a month ago. It's all my fault. The windows had completely shattered due to the fall, letting in the cold air of the winter night. The fleeting sensation of the chilly night began to dull, and her every breath became increasingly more difficult to take. As if she was being ridiculed for her transgressions, the Polaroid picture still clung to what was left of the windshield. Her eyes inevitably began to burn as searing tears began to roll down her face, and even the sensation of warmth began to will away. What a failure she was. At the end of it all, what had she truly achieved? What was the point of her existence if she couldn't even protect her own child, keeping him safe from the calamities of this world? Her vision, stained with a blurry red, could faintly make out an approaching silhouette. Was it the boy who had pushed her down? What would he do to her? He probably couldn't get much pleasure out of the state she was in anyway. To her surprise, it was someone else. His uniform was that of the enemy.
Here. To finish the job, huh?
Without replying, he stepped closer to her, clutching a handgun tightly in his right hand. Mari couldn't decipher it with pity, shame, or sadness strewn across the man's face. He stopped directly in front of her. With an unrelenting eye contact, he raised his shooting arm.
I have a son and daughter. They're barely 12 and 8. Please, Spare them. They have nothing to do with this conflict.
If this is Canaan, she knew it was a gamble, that her words might fall on deaf ears, but it was all she could do. She knew that her words were hypocritical, the demon that her enemy had seen her for, begging for mercy in her last breath, but it was all she could do.
Micah.
Ah, no. Merging in the factory's doors, he slipped into solace in the quiet, chilly night. A brief respite from the chaos of Micah's adolescence and the weight of today's events. The vacant yard, lit up with the gentle glow of distant stars, welcomed him into its muted serenity.
Why can't...
With the monotone hum of the machinery began behind him was a welcome annoyance in the wake of the verbal rattling he had grown accustomed to.
Why can't things just be easy for once?
He knew why Micah was behaving this way around him. Given his age and the circumstances, he probably would have acted the same way, hadn't yet. Nevertheless, he wanted to prove to the boy how mistaken he was in his resentment. He had no desire to impede on his biological father's place, but still, Gabriel wanted to be there for him. Letting out a loud sigh, he rubbed his temples and began to walk across the yard toward the warehouse. Due to today's events, he still hadn't been able to properly attend to Mari's initial request. She had asked him to prepare the mech that meant so much to the boy and her. It's a New Year's present for Micah. He would soon be 13 years old, which meant that he'd finally be taught how to pilot a mech.
Mari.
Had it not been for Mari's kindness, Ada might not be alive today. If she hadn't taken the initiative that day to give them shelter, his daughter might have succumbed to her body's weak condition. He was certain that if his most precious treasure had been taken from him, he would have followed after her. Then realizing it, he had stepped closer to the gate that led out of their home and toward the forest. Despite the brilliant full moon immersing everything in its soothing light, it had already become so dark that he could only vaguely discern the outlines of the treetops along the horizon. How long is it going to take her? It's been over 3 hours.
Ah.
As if his mind had imagined them in panic, 3 pairs of headlights flashed in the distance. The weight being lifted off the young man's heart, his grip on the bag's leather strap eased.
Wait. Something is off. These headlights.
Realization struck him with the intensity of 1,000 sharp stabs, compelling him to stagger backwards. These were not the same headlights as the ones seen in their models. These mech's headlights were too bright for that, even if only barely noticeable. Carried by his trembling legs, he hurried to one of the control towers posted on both sides of the entrance. Tripping up the narrow spiral staircase, he opened the hatch and pulled himself up to the control room. He was greeted by a nonchalant young member of the rebellion. The guard was leaning back in his chair, biting into a small loaf of bread. His legs were casually propped up on the control desk, unaware of the incoming storm.
Oh, hi, Gabe. Look, the boss and the others are coming back.
That's not Mari. Activate the sirens, now!
What are you talking about? Aren't these their signals? Look.
Gabriel's eyes widened in shock as 3 blue dots began blinking on the radar screen. These were the signals coming from their mech models, no doubt. Someone who was familiar with the mechanics and architecture of a wide variety of mech models knew this could only mean one thing. Mari, she was...
No. This can't be.
What's wrong, Gabrielle? Did Micah's pestering get to you that much?
The alarm.
Huh?
Turn on the alarm. Right now!
Ooh! Like a lullaby, little Ada's soft, calm breath filling the room. Breathing filled the room, illuminated only by the faint light given off by Micah's bedside lamp. While Ada had drifted peacefully into slumber, Micah laid in his bed, his arms tucked behind his head and his gaze fixed on the low ceiling of their tiny room. He wasn't even sure if this could be called a room, just an old train compartment that his mother had converted into a bedroom for the 2 children. He couldn't shake a thought that plagued his mind, no matter how much Gabriel had tried to downplay their situation. Micah knew that his mother wouldn't just go on a trip. Lethargically, he pulled his upper body up and left his legs dangle over the edge of this so-called bed. Marked by today's curiosities, his body felt heavy and tired. He moved his eyes over to Ada, gave a discontented grunt, seemingly at the sound of his movements. She rolled onto her side, her back facing him. For a few seconds he remained uncomfortably still, afraid that the slightest muscle contraction could wake the little girl from the little girl from her slumber. However, he was soon released from this stasis by the calm breaths emanating from her once again. How can she sleep so peacefully? As he was about to lie back down, he noticed something flashing on the ground with the corner of his eye. An old and rather tattered leather journal, the edges of which had definitely seen better days. It wasn't hard for Micah to figure out who owned this little book. He kept seeing that idiotic Gabriel carrying it around with him, jotting down notes. It must have fallen out of his bag when he had put the two children to bed just a few minutes ago. Micah's curiosity got the better of him. Finally, he had a chance to look at its contents. Gabriel guarded it as if his life depended on it, never allowing so much as a glimpse inside. He must have collected a wealth of information about the colony in its pages. This was his opportunity. He could finally expose him and reveal his true colors. With shaky hands, he slowly leaned over the edge of the bed. Stretching his arm with all his might, his fingertips reached for the ribbon of the notebook. Got you. Carefully, he pulled it up by the strap and sat back up. His gaze remained locked on Ada. Thankfully, she was still sound asleep. Let's see. Oh, Ada finally has enough strength to walk again. I'm relieved. I can't get rid of this overwhelming sense of fear. A fear that as soon as her small, fragile hand lets go of mine, will be blown away by the spring breeze like the seeds of a dandelion. Oh, how I wish I could give her my heart and strength, or even my life. If it means she can grow up healthy and without any pain, I would be gratefully bear any pain and torment. I should be thankful she's still here with me. After all, it's my fault that it's come to this, and I don't know how to repay Mari and her colony for this precious miracle. It's been 2 months now. I'm not nursing Ada. I try to help out with the machines and share my knowledge, but is that enough? All of them, especially Mari, have done so much for me. For a perfect stranger, how can I ever make up for this debt? May 23. I wish Ada and Micah would get along better. Every time Ada makes an approach, he rejects it and makes one of his silly comments, resulting in Ada throwing a fit. I understand that he is suspicious of us. After all, we are still strangers to him, but they are the only children here. Mustn't he feel lonely too? How can I prove to him that we mean him and his home no harm? How can I show him that he doesn't need to be afraid of us? It's frustrating because I know that no matter what I do, I will probably never gain his trust. Today was the first day I accompanied Mari on an expedition. Although I can pilot a mech to some extent, my skill level isn't nearly good enough for combat. So I sat beside her in a mech. Strange. I don't know exactly what was wrong with me. It was often hot and then suddenly cold. My hands were sweaty and my chest felt heavy. Maybe I had eaten something wrong. Maybe, but my eyes kept wandering to her, how she was always grinning and driving the mech so confidently. No, could you even call that competent? Maybe crazy. Manic is a better term. Maybe the strange feeling could have been the fear of her risky maneuvers sending us flying straight into the nearby tree or mountain, killing us both. Yes, that must be it. There is no other option. I will fall in love. Head over heels in love. Shouldn't have those feelings. After all, she's my savior, and yet I can't take my eyes off of her. Her beautiful, vibrant eyes, the way she treats people. Of the colony, her son. She selflessly guides the colony. She takes my breath away. The pleasant crispness of a spring morning that breathes new life into my lungs, dazzling like the sun rising high on the horizon, once again enveloping the world in its hope-giving light. Last time I had felt like this was when Hannah was still alive. Hannah, it's been 8 years now since she had succumbed to her weak body, leaving me and our newborn Ada behind on this godforsaken earth. Never thought I might witness the day I might feel like this again. It's strange. I should feel guilty, but I don't. The more I think about it, the more my feelings to Hannah feel like a distant memory. They have finally returned. They have all seemed to be in a festive mood, having successfully destroyed the Ark and satisfied some of their burning desire for revenge. One person, however, who didn't feel like celebrating was Mari. As always, she'd put on her "I'm the tough leader and I have to suck up my true emotions" face and smiled at the group, or saying her goodbyes and withdrawing with the party. I knew something was wrong, so I followed her. Once again, my gut feeling wasn't wrong. Curled up and drowning bitterly in her tears, I found her in her room. Seeing her in this state sent a sharp pain through my chest, and I found it difficult to breathe. Do something. Dry her tears, take away her worries. But as so often, I was frozen in place, motionless. In the end, it was her again who sought the needed comfort and support in my arms. Apparently something had gone awry during the mission. Even though the goal was achieved, in the end there were more casualties than was originally planned. I have their blood on my hands. It's my fault. She kept repeating that over and over like a mantra. What should I have answered? Should I have been honest and agreed with her, or lie and lure her into a false sense of innocence? Was staying silent the right thing to do? I'm pathetic, right? Micah started to close the book and set it aside when a deafening sound shook the room, causing the dim bedside light to flicker.
What the? Ada! Wake up! Hurry!
Micah frantically yanked himself out of his bed and vigorously shook Ada's shoulders. Each passing second the sirens reached his ears. It felt like his soul was slowly being sucked out of his body, as if he were a mere observer.
What's the matter? Why are the sirens on? Is this the practice alarm?
Don't be stupid. There's no way that it would be a practice alarm in the middle of the night. Come on!
Without a second thought, he threw the cardigan and scarf to her before slipping into his shoes. He was about to turn to Ada. The book lying on its bed came into focus. In his scrambled mind, he took it and put it in his jacket pocket.
What about Dad? Where is he?
How should I know? We have to get out of here. If you don't hurry up, I'll leave you behind.
No, I'll hurry. I promise. Please don't leave me.
She frantically threw on her clothes and reached out to grab Micah's hand. Her whole body trembled with fear. She clutched at Micah's hand as if it were a lifeline, a delicate, elusive thread that assuaged her fears.
Come, now.
The last time he looked into the cramped train compartment, which he had called his own territory, his sanctuary, for so long, despite the fact that he had to unwillingly share it. A heavy lump formed in his throat as he tried to suppress the ominous thoughts that were forcing their way to the surface. The sirens' harrowing cries would only sound for one reason, and he knew why. At the corridor, they were almost trampled by a stampede of panicked colony residents who scurried in all directions. Their frightened screams and shrieks were swallowed up by the loud sirens.
Hey! What's going on here?
He managed to grab one of them by the sleeve and pull him back.
You two have to get out of here, quickly! The military just stormed the place!
The military?
The military. Micah could feel Ada's grip tighten, and her palm become sweatier. Her small fingernails dug painfully into the back of his hand. Even though he hated to admit it, he felt no different. Pain that threatened his heart to burst deprived him of the strength to breathe. They were here. These bastards were really here. He had to fight. He had to...
Take the rear exit. It should be safer than leaving through the front. Try to hide from them as best you can, okay?
No! I'll help!
Micah, no!
Don't be stupid. You're a kid. What makes you think you'd stand a chance against machines?
What about Mom? Are they back from the expedition?
And where's Dad?
We'll do everything we can to stop these monsters, but you must run now. Do you understand?
Oh, alright. Alright, we're throwing down.
Micah, I'm scared.
Shh. Just be quiet.
They had managed to get out of the factory building unscathed. As the man had said, the rear part of the site was still empty. Neither Rebel nor any of the military bats were to be seen. What now? Where should the two of them go? The only way to get off the factory grounds was the entrance. Which would mean they'd have to run through the middle of the oncoming battlefield. If they were to hide here, it would only be a matter of time before they'd be found. If only he could pilot a mech to guide the two of them out of there.
I have an idea.
Uh-oh.
I don't like that look on your face.
We have no other choice. Come on, now.
Uh-oh. Gotta learn to pilot a mech by necessity. The warehouse was on the direct path to the entrance. Once they'd make it there, they'd also make it out of the camp.
Just a little bit more, then...
As Micah was about to turn the corner and head for the warehouse gate, he abruptly came to a halt. Rapidly, he pulled Ada back. Clutching her to his body, he pinned his back against the wall. Leaning forward cautiously, he tried to make out the scenario playing just a few feet from them. The fraction of a second, he spotted 3 individuals emerging from their mechs, weapons drawn. Uh-oh. Illuminated by the flames of the burning observation towers at the entrance, he was able to make out a young, graceful woman, a similarly young, laid-back man, and a person very familiar to him.
This can't be.
Micah!
This man was with those bastards. He was one of them. If he hadn't met him, if he hadn't helped him, would any of this have happened? Was all this his fault?
Man, watching these worms squirm for their lives is so much fun.
Oh no.
Xander, why'd you go and be a total killjoy by blowing that bitch's head away?
Oh no.
I could have had a really good time with her.
Be quiet, you fool.
It's so pathetic that the infamous Mari was such a pushover when shit hit the fan. Executing her was child's play.
Oh no.
Mom?
Hearing her name pierced his chest like the claws of a savage beast after his own little heart. She is dead. To kill them, they must die here, else they'll...
Micah!
Though her voice brought him back to his senses, their eyes met, her sad crimson eyes locked with his, and her hand moved up to his cheek, gently wiping away one of the tears in a futile attempt to stop the flood that now streamed from his face. Was he crying?
I have to admit, Yona, the idea of taking their trackers and placing them in our mechs was brilliant. These idiots didn't suspect a thing.
I mean, Gabriel did, but by the time it got to that point, it was already too late.
Commander, I'm going to check inside for any survivors. If you'll excuse me.
I'll have a look around too. Don't do anything reckless, Nahum.
Sir, please, don't baby me.
I'm an adult human person who is totally of all his faculties. This was their own chance. Only one of them was in sight. They had to sneak past him somehow to get to the warehouse. So it was God himself who had heard Micah's plea. A metallic sound echoed from the direction opposite to them.
Who's there?
Now! Without warning, Micah instinctually grabbed Ada's hand and dragged her with him. As fast as his shaky legs could carry him, he ran toward the hall entrance. Uncertain as to whether the man had noticed the two or not, Micah looked around the dimly lit area with a frenetic desperation. I have to be quick. Vision locked steadily on a mecha in the far back corner. He knew it wasn't time yet, but he was left with no other choice. Once he finished sprinting toward the mech, Micah let go of Ada and pulled himself up to the cockpit, determination flashing in his eyes.
Micah, what are you doing?
I'm getting us the hell out of here.
This is dangerous. Do you even know how to pilot that?
With a hiss, the hatch leading to the cockpit popped open and he climbed in, quickly scanning its interior. If it was a different model, the layout surely had to be similar.
Ron has shown me how to operate his mech a few times. Secret, of course.
That's not really reassuring.
Oop! Ada's short scream made him freeze. Were they here? They noticed him after all? Expecting the worst, he slowly turned around and looked directly into Gabriel's eyes.
What on God's green earth are you thinking of doing?
Let go of me! I have to get us out of here!
Do you want to die? You have no idea how to control these things. Besides, this one is still under maintenance.
So what?
So what? At the entrance are a bunch of bloodthirsty soldiers, eager to kill you.
What do you know? You just let my mom die and lied to us! Why didn't you protect her? Why could it happen to you? She's dead!
Blinded by his rage, Micah failed to notice the countless wounds that littered Gabriel's body. Blood streamed from his forehead and mouth, and his right arm hung limp at his side.
You're hurt?
That doesn't matter now.
With what little strength he could muster, he grabbed Micah by his hood and pulled him out of the cockpit and down to Ada, who had been silently watching the two of them argue.
Dad.
Trying to ignore the pain as to not to worry her, he knelt down to his daughter. Her eyes were welled with a growing despair. A sorrowful smile graced his lips as he gently brushed the strands of hair which had fallen in her face behind her ear.
Ada, my beautiful daughter. You have to be strong now, okay?
Dad.
His expression darkened. Without paying any heed to the protests of the children, he grabbed them and pulled them into the center of the hall.
Let go!
He swung open a trapdoor. Without closer inspection, it looked like the rest of the floor panels. The darkness. Micah managed to make out a small cavity beneath the opening, and it dawned on him.
Gabrielle, wait!
There is no time to wait.
A serious, deep glare bore into Micah's eyes, flooding his entire body with a suffocating anxiety. Petrified, he couldn't react in time as Gabriel quickly grabbed his jacket and thrust him into the darkness.
Hey!
The hole was barely big enough for Micah to fit in. As he tried to pull himself out of it, he was pushed back down by Ada's body. Just like Micah, Gabriel had pushed her in.
Dad, no!
You're right, Micah. I'm a failure. I'm someone who isn't strong enough to protect the people I love.
Gabrielle! Stop!
I'm sorry that I wasn't able to convince you that I had no ill intentions. I'm sorry that I couldn't protect your mother. You can curse me for all eternity. Just please, let me do this.
No!
Despite all that, I love you too.
Dad, open the door! Dad!
With one hand, Micah firmly covered her mouth while he wrapped his free arm around her upper body. She desperately tried to free herself from his tight grip, but she didn't stand a chance. No matter how reluctant he was to face the situation, he knew that resistance was futile. Why? Why am I so weak? Silence. The muffled sound of Gabriel's lifeless body collapsing over the trapdoor. The gunshots had ceased. Micah's body tensed up. It felt as though he had completely lost control, as if he was on autopilot. It was simply a bad dream. Yes, it had to be. This was just a nightmare. He'd be woken up by Ada, wanting him to go play or something, surely. She would no doubt laugh at him if he told her this. She would... Tears rolled down the hand that covered her mouth, all its desperate might. By now her body had given up on any kind of resistance. She simply leaned against him, silently accepting her fate. Without him, no, that couldn't be it. He would never accept such a fate. To pay. They will pay. Kill every last one of them. Time marched on. A new day had dawned, and the sun had once again bathed the world in its radiance. A number of wagons came to a halt at the entrance to the colony. A tall, middle-aged woman stepped out of the foremost cart, her body bearing the scars of war.
We were too late.
Ooh. Main faction of the resistance? Atara, ma'am? Taking a puff of her cigarette, she took in the tragic beauty of the battlefield. Lifeless bodies were scattered across the yard, and it was abundantly clear who would emerge victorious from this battle.
I'll take a look around, madam. There may be survivors.
All right.
Despite her thoughts convincing her or otherwise, she didn't want to deprive the naive boy of his hope. At the same time, however, she wanted this to be a stark demonstration of the cruelty this world can bear. It was all blurred, good and evil, right and wrong, righteous and criminal. In the end, they were two sides of the same coin. The only thing that gave them any meaning was the perspective of the hand that held it. Decisions are made under the misguided banner of ideals, revenge, and power. Every time human lives are caught amongst them. It's a never-ending vicious cycle.
At the end of the day, they're all equally victims and perpetrators.
She didn't find much use pondering on what-if scenarios. It didn't matter. Damage was done. was irreversible. They were too late. A colony and all of its inhabitants were executed in an act of revenge. Revenge for a crime a single woman was responsible. Not even that woman.
What a waste.
She caught her gaze lingering on the body of a man. Contrary to others, this one did not belong to one of the residents, but to the military. His eyes lay open. Any remnants of his soul were long gone. An agonizing death he must have had. Though hours had passed, you could still feel an aura of indescribable rage and a burning desire for revenge on his corpse.
Madam!
Nahum? Boy's shouts bellowed out of the large factory warehouse right next to her. Crouching next to an open trapdoor in the center of the hall, he made repeating pointing motions downward.
There are two right here. They're both still alive but unconscious.
Behind him was the lifeless body of another man. She had known him through Mari, even if only in passing. What was his name again?
Ah, I see. So that's what happened.
She cast her vacant stare up at the sky. The day before, it was enshrouded in a sea of white clouds. And now it was immersed in a pearly, radiant blue. At last, the icy bite of winter had released its ironclad grip, heralding a fresh start. Winter giving way to spring. Eventually back to winter. Cold cycle of birth, growth, destruction, rebirth. Same way that this world cruelly enacts cycles of violence upon itself, I suppose. Perhaps the incident in the Ark city, if we taking this... Oh, Yoda and Atara. Nahum and Isaac had the same... okay. If, we're to take what we heard in this game, presumably, the Ark in question had something to do with the incident that took, Eh? Did we loop?
He seems like he's asleep. And by the looks of it, he's having a beautiful dream. We should let him rest more. Yes, you're right. Sweet dreams, Mika.
Huh? Beautiful CGs, yeah. I wish we got more of... I suppose we still have a chance to get more from him. Intriguing character. Ooh. Gabriel. Oh. God, I'm sad. I had no idea that Mari's story ended before I really got the full extent of it. That's... Oh. But hey. That's the pain of... That's the cruelty of this world, isn't it? The biggest thing... Biggest threat to humans are other humans. Cruelty of other humans. The cruelty of the world brings out the cruelty in other humans, which only perpetuates more cruelty in response. And the squad. Hey. Pretty much a really good team here. Again, really good voicing. I definitely see the team came back for Idealize, which is really cool to see. Again, really good voicing. And hello, and hello. Hee hee. Little fellow. Oh. Oh, aw, okay. That's fair. But alas. Oh, we do get a, yeah. Okay. We do get a new sky. Hope for a new future, perhaps? What do we make of that hint? Is it... Does Micah get a good night's sleep after this? Is this a bad dream? Is this a bad dream? Is there, No, I don't want to jump on theory like that at the moment like this, but... But yeah, it does tell us a lot about the world as it is. Where the cruelty of the world. We got Nahum. We found out what happened to Nahum and Yona. It did not go well. It did not go well. But yeah, that's... God, what hurts even more is that Idealize adds a cruel twist. Just with this story in mind, it adds a cruel cycle of violence perpetuated by humans against other humans, against those without the shelter and safety of the Ark. Lashing out in desperate pain and revenge for being ostracized. Possibly being directly ostracized from the Arks themselves, because we know that the Arks themselves aren't fundamentally built on casting out those at the bottom of the social hierarchy to power the core that keeps them safe from chimeras. Simultaneously putting more chimeras out there into the world, while those left outside the Arks are forced to scavenge for themselves, defend themselves. God, and they never stood a chance, did they? But hey, if there's more side stories to come in future jams from this universe, maybe we'll get more about the main Resistance faction. God, that's a whole other wrinkle on Mari's character that we never knew. And Esther and Aran died too. Oh, I really like that trio. I'm sad now just thinking about that. I don't know if I want to entertain the possibility by that stinger being that the whole thing was a dream. A cruel nightmare, as Micah was hoping. But... aww. I don't really have much more to add than that, other than... yes, this... adds a whole lot of context to this world. First and foremost. Second off, adds a whole lot of context to Mari, Esther, and Aran, who we just kinda That makes sense now why we kind of lost track of their plot and all of this after the Ark got wiped, because they had already bailed ASAP and went back to their colony to celebrate. Not realizing. Only Mari realized the true extent of what had gone wrong, and hence her reaction compared to the others. That explains why we didn't see much from them at the ending of Idealize, because we would already have known their ending, approaching this in release order, so to speak. We now have the context of what happened to them after the fact. They just came back. And we have a little bit of context, I suppose, as to what might have happened before that. You're presuming that the actual incident that eventually prompted them accepting this offer was the death of Mari's husband. Which again leads into the recurring cycle of seasons, a cycle of violence being perpetuated in this world, humans against each other in this class system that inevitably pits them against each other. It's a cruel world where violence begets violence. Try to take down one Ark city, but inevitably an unexpected wrench in the plans caused it to go so horribly wrong that it prompted a very aggressive and scorched earth revenge against them that left them not the same ever again. That completely changed the course of Micah and Ada's lives forever. Perhaps only making someone like Godspeed that Gabriel's last influence and last sacrifice, it could maybe leave some lasting impact on Micah. But it is highly likely that the military's scorched earth revenge has only birthed another young person with burning, corrupting desire for revenge in Micah. I hope not, but such is the nature of this world, isn't it? Alas. And I just have to say one last note. You have such a painfully beautiful talent for writing tragedies. Like, 2 for 2 in terms of gut-wrenching, soul-destroying pain in here. Gosh dang. Such is the nature of the world that... Again, such is the nature of the world you put together here that begets that sort of tone. Gosh dang. Gosh dang. Just want someone to live a happy life, but, just want someone to live a happy life, but unfortunately the world will not let that be. So, stay tuned and see what else comes from this series. because I'm excited for it. It's so lovely. Amazing voices, amazing writing. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Until then.